Tennessee at Arkansas. Saturday, 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 local time, kickoff on ABC. I am scared for Tennessee. Not too proud to admit it. I'm putting it out there right now. I'm scared for Tennessee because there's a real world where Arkansas is 5-0. There is a real world where that's true. The Oklahoma State game, I still have no idea how they lost. And they played A&M last week, and that's always a nip and tuck back and forth game. And they found a way to lose that one. /A&M found a way to win it. But what did Mima always say? Games are not played in the rearview mirror. So don't let a team that has 5-0 potential about itself fool you into thinking they're just an above 500 team. Any given night, especially with home crowd at your back. I mean, you know, Herb Street and Fowler are calling this game. It's getting the primetime treatment. I am very, very concerned, okay? Not scared. Maybe I'm a little bit scared too. Tennessee's coming off a bye. I'm just saying you need to treat this thing like it's a marquee game. I don't think they'll overlook this at all. I'm mainly talking to people in my social circle who I know good and well are already talking about the Bama game in 2 weeks, and I'm like, y'all play Arkansas and Florida, don't you? Boy, wouldn't it make their season to take a bite out of you. Don't let it happen, guys. Tennessee is not established enough where they can afford to start thinking that way. I know it's fun to bathe in that orange Kool-Aid, but, I mean, you got to dry off for just a second eventually. Two things that need to be corrected here. Now let's talk about how Arkansas actually does it. So, Taylon Green versus Texas A&M. So, the Arkansas quarterback last week versus A&M. This is not a typo, Jesse. 13 carries for 6 yards, even with the sack yardage factored in college football. That's not good enough. Absolutely not good enough. Jaquindon Jackson, 10 carries for 37 yards. That's not good enough. So one thing for certain, if that's the profile of this Arkansas offense this Saturday night, it's a really, really good and comfortable night for Tennessee. This has to be a huge one-night-only kind of energy game for Arkansas. And if you don't know what I mean by that, you really do. You just never heard it phrased that way. Every week in this sport, much less every season, every week in this sport, you turn on a game and there's a result slapping you in the face and you're saying, where has this team been all year? Or you're saying, wow, that's actually what I kind of expected. Or you're saying, boy, I knew if this guy or this unit played up to their potential, this was possible. That's one night only energy. Most teams don't possess the ability to play at a high level every week. Most of them don't. There are some of them who play at a high level 4 or 5 times a year. There's this huge glob of teams, though, that are going to turn in a random A- to A+ performance on you like once or twice a year, and they're going to pull a big upset. They'll go right back to losing the next week. So, at the very least, we need one night only energy from Arkansas here, preferably more. Here's what concerns me. Colin, you got that quote from Sam Pittman earlier in the week? So at his press conference, which was yesterday as I'm looking at it, Sam Pittman, not one to beat around the bush. He's talking about his offense. He says, we got a confidence problem. We have a quarterback that's not confident. There's times when he can stand in the pocket, and there's one there, and there's times when he stays in the pocket and he gets hit. So probably in between. And we tried a lot of quick passing game as well. He's talking about the last game. So basically, there's really no consistency or confidence in what Taylon Green is feeling or seeing right now. So that's where we are if we're Arkansas. Tennessee, 8th in the country in defensive pressure rate. Arkansas, might as well pop the paper on this one. Tennessee, 8th best in the country at pressuring the quarterback. Arkansas, 103rd in sacks allowed. Offensive line's not good, and they've been banged up, so they're really not good. Tennessee's got a good run defense. They will force Arkansas to throw the ball, and at that point, no one has any idea what's going to happen. It could be great. It could be horrific. That's Arkansas offense right now. Tennessee, I will say this, if you find Arkansas making plays through the air, it's because Tennessee's secondary's still not been tested. We still think there could be vulnerability back there, and we don't know because they hadn't faced anyone, including Oklahoma, that had any kind of capability of testing it out. Now, we could be wrong about that. That's the whole point in finding out about the structural integrity of the dam. They got to have the water pushed against it first. Sometimes it holds up. Hopefully it always does. But we have at least got to have a competent guy throwing the ball against the secondary. And we haven't had that so far. So this is the kind of game where you make Nico throw it to win. And there is a big chance that if you make him throw it, he does beat you. But statistically, you put yourself in a better position than just letting Tennessee run it down your throat all night. You got to count on that. Plus, you got to count on what we like to call some good old-fashioned Petrino magic. And if you look that up in Webster's, trust me, it has many, many different meanings. But on this night, we just want to limit it to the football field. Is it too much to ask? Let's take a look at what the model thinks. The FanDuel number is pretty big right now, especially to be going on the road. FanDuel has Tennessee minus 13.5. The Pate State model only has Tennessee minus 11.5. Now, here's my thinking on this. There is a thing called BVS in the internet world that stands for battered Vol syndrome. And that is basically any Tennessee fan that is of age, who has lived through the past 20 years, who understands how it feels emotionally to just have your dreams dashed year after year after year. And there is no uptick. It's just all bad. It's just terrible. That part of your heart and your psyche does not go away. Director Colin will tell you, big Tennessee guy, it doesn't go away. And so no matter how good you feel, no matter how great it felt that you did what you did against Oklahoma, and then you go to the Morgan Wallen concert, and then you got a bye week, no matter how good you feel, it only takes a few minutes for a good old-fashioned BVS to creep in the back of your mind. Now, I didn't grow up a Tennessee fan, so I don't have to deal with it. I just pick Tennessee, and if they lose, I move on. But I think very highly of Tennessee this year, and I think Arkansas is headed the wrong direction. So if I'm right about Tennessee, then battered Vol syndrome shouldn't matter. If we're right about them being a legit SEC and national title contender, then that means this team's different than all the other teams that gave you battered Vol syndrome to begin with. So what we have to do here is we have to see a team go into an extremely hostile environment and have it be hostile and have them take the opponent's best shot, kind of like you did in Norman a couple of weeks ago, and you just withstand it anyway. It's not easy. In fact, it will be very hard, immunity, but you withstand it, and then in the fourth quarter you pull away and you win it by 17, 20 points, something like that, and then you move on because that's what really, really good to great teams do. As much as I'm sitting here warning everyone who will listen that I think this week could be a volcanic weekend, I am going to pick Tennessee not to be victimized. I think they'll win, and coming out of the bye, I think they'll find a way to cover this number, and that's a big number. And I am worried, but I'm not scared. I'm not so scared that I'm going to let it talk me off of what I think is going to happen in this game. Give me Tennessee to win. Give me Tennessee to cover.